Hey, what's up, everybody? So, my take on the whole Callaway controversy, the whole advert. If you haven't seen it, I'll put the link before, but the Callaway advert with Good Good, where it's, for a better phrase, suggestive of, or at least might show references to, domestic violence. At least that's what a lot of people are complaining about because the ad. So if you haven't seen the ad, link below, check it out. Now, my take is not a hot take, by the way. Is this from a marketing brand perspective? Normally, when you have an ad, you put across a concept. Now, I'm not saying that this is exactly what the guys at Good Good and Callaway would have done, but Callaway, I'm sure, has a marketing team. Now, what would happen is when you hadn't have a concept or at least an idea for an advert, is somebody will come up with the idea, or the marketing team, whoever, maybe even Good Good, come up with the idea that okay, cool, we've got this. You've got this new driver coming out. I've got an idea about the ad. A few people will run through this ad and then they'll be like, okay, cool. A few of us are chatting over there, and then I see maybe one of the girls walking towards my bag, or somebody, a man or a woman, walking towards a bag. So how they went for, I can't remember the girl's name, but she's part of Good Good. Um, how she ends up, or how they end up deciding on her. But anyway, the point is this: they will sit in a room. They'll go. They'll say, "Oh, great, we've got this driver. Let's partner up with Good Good or whatever." And then they'll say, "Okay, right, let's have a concept." Concept will come out, and the guys will be like, "Hey, this is what I've got an idea." So they'll probably run a few concepts. Now, when it gets to the stage where somebody decides that that's the advert that they're going to run with, is well, even before that, um, a few people should be like kind of, so basically you're testing this concept, right? So a few people would be like, or at least somebody in the room would have been like, yeah, I'm not sure about the references, of what this would suggest, or how it might be perceived, because that's part of marketing, right? When you're a large brand, like Callaway, is somebody at some point has to go through the possibilities, right? The possible responses to the ad. Now, at some point, somebody, I would guess, should have been like, well, hang on a second. I'm not sure this is right, or I'm not sure this is a good idea because, it's a guy, he's taller, he's bigger, and he sees this person picking up the Callaway driver from my bag, and then you go and you shove them to the ground. Um, so one would think at some point there would have been red flags. Now I know a lot of people are going to be like, or some people might even say in the comments, but a lot of people are going to be like, relax, it's just a skit, blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff. I get you. This is not the point. This is not the point of the video. Is not to say, um, it's just basically to point a picture on both sides. So the people they'll come in the comments and be like, well, listen, it's just a skit. It's acting. There's nothing wrong with it. Blah blah blah. Okay, now back to the people sitting in the room. So the marketing, and they're going through the concept. Now, when we look at possible triggers, because this is what marketing teams are supposed to do. What most marketing teams would do, they'll be like, okay, can we run through the possible scenario? So if we follow through with this concept, what storyline is it telling, and what are the things that we might want to steer clear of because of controversies, or controversies that may be arise, controversies like this? Because in most cases, when people are planning an advert, it's best to go through the scenario planning and look at all the possible outcomes or things people might say. And so you're running it, whether it's through the brand team, the marketing team, the golf guys, whether it's Callaway, Google. So whether somebody at some point would have been like, oh yeah, I'm not too sure how that might, because it's got a bit of connotation to just, it's a big guy and he's pushing a woman in the ground. I don't know. So through all of that, you would think somebody might have raised a question. Now, it's also possible that there wasn't really a marketing brand team and it didn't even really go through that process. It might have been just skipped because it's good. They might have thought, okay, these guys, let them come up with a concept and then we'll run with it, which is fine. Now, the problem is when we look at the golf game as such, obviously since COVID and stuff, we've seen a lot more people in the US, the UK, and maybe a little bit all around the world. A lot of people take up golf. And there's this whole thing about inclusiveness, right? Women, men as much as women, kids, everybody can play the game, and it being a safe place. Now, when you look at things like safeguarding, which you would thought a brand like Callaway would also have, is like, okay, somebody that's either involved in safeguarding or is kind of aligned with safeguarding, or has experiences with safeguarding in the past, would have been like, well, hang on a second, this might cause issues with some, people that have, maybe been abused before, have experienced, domestic violence. This might trigger a little bit of like some of that, because look, at the end of the day, golf is an escapism, right? We all play golf to get away from whatever. A lot of the things that we do in life is work, family, job, people, whatever. And there'll be some form, maybe a very small percentage of people that'll be on the golf course. I'll be like, they might have experienced domestic violence. Might that be rare? Yes, that's possible. However, this is an advert that's being seen pretty much, I'd say, all around the world. So, as a brand, you have to go through all those plausible and possible scenarios to protect people that are in golf, and to protect people generally that are of domestic violence. And we know domestic violence is a big thing. So, while some people will be saying, oh, yeah, it's just a skit, it's just acting. Yeah, okay, we get that. However, as a brand, as any brand, any big brand, or even a small brand, they're going to go through certain scenarios where they say, okay, we need to be sure that when we put out this messaging or this advert, it's not going to cause uproar. It's not going to, pee people off. It's not going to rub people off the wrong way. And, we still want to make sure that, people are safe. And Callaway, I can't remember, I think it's one of their values, whether it's I think they've got about 5 values on their website. I think number 5 is all about community. So making sure, I can't remember, don't quote me the exact values, but one of those core values is about, in a roundabout way, says a lot about inclusivity. Now, when you make an advert like that, you have to think about those things, because those are your brand values. So it doesn't make sense to put out an advert like that and then it goes against your brand values. I think that's the problem. If you were, I don't know, a different type of a brand or whatever, that maybe they might get away with it, but it's very hard to justify that kind of advert for such a large brand, because look, we know that issues like domestic violence, as a lot of all other things, whether it's just violence generally, it's not something that are within the values of golf. Everybody wants to play in a safe space. So anything that has connotations or shows some level of abuse or violence, whatever, it's just not part of the brand values. I'm sorry. So I have experience working in marketing, and I know exactly what it is. You have to run all these concepts through before you get out, and part of it is because, look, at the end of the day, Callaway and Good Good have basically have received a bit of damage from this advert. And again, the people that say this is a kit, yeah, fair enough, you can say that it was just a skit, but at the end of the day, these are the kinds of things that when you go through a process of conceptualizing an idea, you stay clear of things that may rub people the wrong way. And this is a classic example. So, and I know some people are saying, well, it's just like acting. Would you say the same thing if it was acting in a movie and all that kind of stuff? That's a different conversation for another day. When we're talking about the game of golf and sport in general, the values are always about inclusivity, being safe, and not wanting to show or represent any kind of, things like domestic violence, or that golf is a sport where people can't be safe. So people can't be, but as a brand like Callaway, you can't be, seen to be accepting those kinds of, abuse, basically. Unfortunately, that's just the black and white of it. So people can say whatever they want in terms of people are overreacting. Fine. At the end of the day, reactions happen, and this is what can happen as a result. So that's just my hot take on it. As I said, if you haven't seen the video, I'm going to put it in the description before. If you agree, disagree, drop your comments below. Listen, this is not my point of view. The whole point of this video is just to give you both sides of what goes down from a marketing perspective when you conceptualize ideas as a brand. It's just part of it. So if it wasn't domestic violence, it might have been something else that people didn't really like. It's just certain subjects, rub people the wrong way, and this is a classic example. Do I think that this will harm good in the long run? Probably not. And I should also say that I don't think good were necessarily malicious or posted this with malicious intent. It's just, a group of young guys are really passionate about golf, and I'm sure they thought that they were doing, I guess they, I guess they were doing a good thing in helping Callaway promote this new driver, because I'm sure they're in partnership. But yeah, that's just my hot take from a marketing perspective, and to show you guys, or to at least go through some of those reasons why some of these, the backlash that has happened would have been avoidable. So yeah, so drop your comments in the box below. If you agree or disagree, that's fine. Feel free to put your comments. As I say, these are not necessarily my views. I'm just letting you know, or just telling you guys how marketing and conceptualization work when you're bringing an advert to the call. So see you in the next one.